Yes?
Yeah, Bill, curious, so part of the story of the economy is that we've seen profits increase and employment's been flat, down, and now flat at a lot of companies. So fewer people or the same number of people are having to do more work. And then we also see, and I'm hearing from some HR managers from some larger companies, this is true, that a lot of younger workers come in, more than ever, they're really firm about work-life balance. They don't want to be there in the evening, they don't want to come in on Saturday. The limits are just a little more solid perhaps than they were for a lot of employees 10 years ago. How do those things work together? What are you seeing happening in your workplace, encouraging people to do what it is they need to do? And you mentioned work-life balance.
Yep.
You don't want them to lose that. How does that all work together?
Yeah, so again, a lot of variables in the question of work-life balance, and we actually are seeing the exact same thing that you're hearing, that a lot of the newer folks coming out of school, or a few years out of school, have a different perspective. But what's interesting to us, the more we delve into it, is they're willing to work very, very hard, but how they work is different. And face time, for example, is much less important. And so, yeah, maybe they don't want to be in on Saturday morning because the boss and a couple of people are in on Saturday morning, and it looks good to do that. But if there's a project that needs to get done, and it means they're maybe dialing in from home for an hour on Saturday morning, we see no pushback on that kind of thing at all. In fact, what we see is a lot more creativity being exhibited, and we're actually trying to harness that and learn from it. And actually, this has actually been a really good lesson for me. So I've patterned, right? I'm a very patterned person. So I get up at the same time every morning. I go to the office at the same time every morning, and I tend to stay to the same time at night, unless there's something really extraordinary going on. And I can't actually do that right now. So I'm having to dial into meetings that I never would have dialed into. I'm having to do a lot of things more remotely than I have. And you know what? These are things that my younger colleagues say, of course. That's what the technology's there for. And I'm actually finding that I'm more productive in some ways, and just as plugged in. So we hear that, but for us, what we're trying to do is create an environment where it's not FaceTime, it's actually outcomes that really matter, and the how does matter. I mean, just getting to the answer. If you do it, to be extreme, if you cheat to get to the answer, you don't want that, obviously. You can't accept that. But outcomes are really important. And if people can get outcomes by working in a different pattern than many of us grew up working, we've got to be more accepting of that. So actually, flexibility and mobility, if you go way back to the charts when I had energized our culture as one of the big themes out of our strategy, one of the initiatives is clearly called out. Figure out how to be more flexible and to promote more mobility so that people can manage their work-life balance a little bit more effectively. So it's actually a reflection of what we're hearing from the younger workforce, and it's actually, I think, making us a better company. So we've actually tried to embrace it. But you can't kid yourself. As I said before to the earlier question, hard work matters. But I think how the hard work gets done matters less than maybe traditionally thought. The other thing we're finding, and it's sort of a corollary to your question, is we are finding that people, as part of their work-life balance, they also really, really like the idea of being something, I'll say, bigger, being part of something bigger than them. And I think it's one of the really great characteristics we're seeing out of this generation, and it's something that we're really embracing. And we have way more aggressive volunteerism going on among some of our younger colleagues. They just really love being part of the community. And so one of the things we've been really trying to do as an organization is allow that to happen, because what happens is we put in place a program where we basically gave everybody an extra day off to do whatever they want from a volunteerism standpoint. And historically, people say, well, why haven't you done this before? We had sort of a traditional view that, well, if we give everybody a day off, then we're going to have to track how they spend it. And what we did is we just flipped that on its head. It was like, no, we're not going to track how people spend it. We're going to trust people to do the right thing. And I'm sure somebody will just take the day and go to the beach, but 90% of the people are going to go do something volunteer-wise. And what's interesting is if you allow people to sort of express, one of their outside of work passions as part of the workplace, it's amazing what happens from a productivity standpoint and an engagement standpoint inside. So the flexibility, the mobility, and this sort of, I'd say blurring of lines has really been a big thing. And one of the ways I describe it to people is our people seem to really be very engaged around, we call them the 3 C's, the client, the crew, and the community. And somehow figuring out that, allowing people to express themselves to each of those constituencies has been a real big plus. And again, I credit a lot of our 20-somethings with sort of pushing us in that direction, really opened my eyes. Should probably take one more and then let you guys get on with your Saturday.